notebook of Kael found in the ruins of the Contrition Center, Block C pages partially burned. Recovered by the Archive Collective, Year 1 of the Severance. Entry undated. Early I stole this notebook from a dead man. He was a compliance officer, maybe 40, found slumped in the alley behind the textile district, with his chip still poolsing blue in his skull, even after his heart stopped. The chip outlived him by 11 minutes. I counted. His name was stamped inside the cover. Officer R. Danes, Ministry District 4. He'd used maybe 6 pages. Shopping lists, shift schedules, a note that said pick up mother suppressants Thursday, nothing else. 80 blank pages, and the man never once thought to fill them. I don't know why that broke something in me. I took the notebook. I figured R. Danes owed the world at least one set of honest pages entry. Still don't know the date. I've stopped keeping track. Before I explain anything, I should say what I was before I became whatever I am now. I was a cartographer. Ministry licensed, of course. All professions are. I drew maps of the city's infrastructure. Sewage lines, ventilation systems, the underground transit routes. I was good at it, precise. The ministry likes precision. They gave me commendations twice. I had a chip installed at 17, like everyone else. Standard integration. I don't remember it hurting. I don't remember much from before it, which I suppose was the point. For 10 years, I drew maps of the city's insides and felt nothing about it, which the ministry called mental health. Then one morning, I made a mistake. I drew a door that wasn't on any official blueprint. It was in Sector 9, deep in the old quarter where the buildings predate the ministry by 100 years. I was mapping a ventilation corridor, and I found it, a real door, wood and iron, carved with patterns that had no function, no purpose, no ministry approval. Just beauty made by someone's hands, for no reason other than the making. I stood in front of it for 45 minutes. The chip pulsed warnings the entire time. Unproductive fixation. Emotional contamination risk. I ignored it. I stood there, and I felt something crack open in my chest. Slow and terrible and irreversible. I went home that night and couldn't sleep. I drew the door from memory instead. Entry, a few days later. I think the chip doesn't hurt. Exactly. It's more like, imagine you're in a room with a window. Outside the window, there's a landscape, enormous and wild. Mountains and storms and light. The chip doesn't take the window away. It just frosts the glass, so you can see shapes, but not colors. Movement, but not meaning. For 10 years, I thought frosted glass was the same as clear. The door in Sector 9 cracked a corner of the frost. After that, I started noticing things I'd walked past every day for a decade. The way rain sounds different on stone than on steel. The specific weight of afternoon light in November. The expression on people's faces when they think no one's watching. That brief, suppressed hunger for something the ministry doesn't have a name for. I started drawing these things instead of sewage lines. My supervisor noticed. She filed a report. I was called in for a recalibration. The recalibration was a smaller chip, a booster, they called it, installed behind the existing one. 2 layers of frost on the glass. I walked out feeling so calm, it was indistinguishable from death. I went directly back to Sector 9 and stood in front of the carved door and waited. It took longer this time, almost 2 hours, but the crack came back. It always comes back. Entry: I've started sleeping in the old quarter. I lost my position at the ministry's cartography office 3 weeks after the recalibration. Not fired, reassigned. They moved me to a data processing unit in District 7, monitoring emotional compliance metrics across the southeastern grid. My job was to flag anomalies, people whose biosignals indicated feeling. I was, in other words, being asked to hunt people like the person I was becoming. I lasted 9 days. On the 9th day, I flagged my own biosignals and then deleted the report. Then I packed my notebook, my pencils, and the small folded drawing of the carved door, and I walked out of the ministry's data processing unit and into the underground and didn't look back. That was 2 years ago. I don't miss the work. I miss the maps, sometimes, the clean logic of them, the honesty of a line that means exactly what it says. But mostly, I'm relieved. Mostly, I feel like a man who's been holding his breath for 10 years and has finally learned to exhale. Entry: written in the back of a disused bookshop. I should write about the first time. I've been avoiding it. It's easier to write around the edges, the door, the chip, the cartography office, than to write about the thing itself. But this notebook should be honest, if nothing else. Her name was Petra. She found me in the underground about 6 months after I left the ministry. I was sleeping rough, doing small jobs for the resistance networks, forging transit papers, mapping safe corridors through the city. I'd heard rumors about myself by then, which was disorienting. The resistance had decided I was something. A symbol, maybe, or a weapon. Petra had been a singer before her chip. She told me this in a basement 3 levels below the city, by the light of a salvaged candle. She said she could still feel the shape of songs inside her. Not the notes, not the words, but the wanting to make them. This hollow, urgent ache where the music used to live. She said the chip hadn't taken the hunger, just the ability to feed it. She'd heard the rumors about me. About the kiss. I told her the rumors weren't entirely accurate, which was true. I didn't fully understand it myself yet. I only knew that twice before, in moments of overwhelming feeling. Something had happened, a kind of transfer, a severance of self from suppression. Both times the person had died. Both times they'd looked, at the end, like someone who just remembered the answer to a question they'd carried for years. I told Petra this. I was honest about the dying. I owe every single one of them that honesty, she said. I know. I still want to. I asked her why. She said, because I want to hear the song one more time before I go. The real one. The one they took. I held her face in my hands for a long time before I kissed her. I wanted to memorize her first. The particular shape of her courage when she died. She was humming. I don't know if she knew she was doing it, but the sound she made, low and wordless and completely free, was the most beautiful thing I'd heard in 10 years of careful silence. I carried her to the surface afterward, left her somewhere they'd find her. I didn't want her to be just another disappeared. I threw up in the alley. Then I sat against the wall and breathed until I could stand again. Then I wrote her name in the back of this notebook. In the small section, "I've begun keeping for that purpose, Petra." Sang at the end, "Remembered everything," entry written on a transport. Destination unknown. Someone from the resistance told me I'm a weapon. She said it admiringly, which made it worse. She said the ministry is terrified, which should have felt like victory, and instead felt like a warning. She said, "Keep doing what you're doing. You're the best asset we have." And I smiled and nodded, and then walked outside and stood in an alley for 20 minutes pressing my forehead against the wall. I am not a weapon. I am a man with ink on his fingers and 13 names in the back of a notebook, and a crack in my chest that gets a little wider every time. The resistance wants to use the severance as a tactical strike. Weaponize grief. Make the dying mean something politically. They talk about Marin, Officer Marin Volt, ministry hunter, who chose the kiss in a factory in the industrial quarter. And they say, imagine if we could get to more officers like her. Imagine the message it sends. They're not wrong. I know they're not wrong. But there's something obscene about it, treating those 13 people like ammunition. Like the whole point of Petra singing was the political utility of her death. I didn't kiss Petra for the resistance. I kissed her because she asked me to, because she deserved one true moment after years of enforced silence. That's all it ever was. That's all it ever should be. Entry. I don't remember writing this. I must have been very tired. Do I feel guilty? Yes. Next question. Entry. Back in the old quarter, the carved door is gone. I went to check on it today, foolish, sentimental, and found a blank wall where it used to be. The ministry must have located it during a sweep. They'd plastered over the whole section, smooth gray rendering over the old stone and iron, and all those purposeless, beautiful carvings. I stood there for a long time. It felt like another death. Smaller, and maybe that makes it worse. At least the people I've kissed are carried in me. That door is gone completely. The ministry plastered it over, and now it's as if it never asked anything of anyone. I drew it again from memory when I got back. I must have drawn it 30 times now. I could draw it in total darkness. I think I'll be drawing it until I die, which, given my current situation, might not be long. Entry written quickly. Hand unsteady. They almost caught me today. 2 officers, both armed, both chipped so recently their pupils were still dilated from the installation. They had my photograph. A good one, too. The ministry must have a sketch artist, because I've never posed for a camera. And yet there I was, correctly proportioned, my scar and everything. I ran. I'm writing this from a drainage tunnel in the eastern quarter, wet to the knee, sharing the space with approximately 7 rats who have more freedom than most of the city's citizens. I'm not afraid of dying. I want to be clear about that, in case someone reads this after the fact. I'm afraid of dying before I've written everyone's name down, before I've given everyone a fair account. The ministry will destroy the official record. They already have. They're very good at that. And if I die without finishing this, who will remember Petra? Who will remember David with his violin, or Lucia, or the boy in District 9 whose name was Eli, and who asked for the kiss because he wanted to feel his mother's hand on his face one more time, just once, Really feel it without the chip mooting everything to gray. Someone has to remember I'm it. Currently. Entry: first good night's sleep in 2 weeks. I met a woman named Cass today in the underground cafe on Marsh Street. She runs one of the resistance networks, the one that's been printing testimonials, first-person accounts of life before the chips, smuggled memories, that kind of thing. She wants to print excerpts from this notebook. I told her no. She asked why. And I said because these pages aren't a manifesto. They're a memorial. There's a difference. She said the distinction won't matter if the ministry wins. I said if the ministry wins, it won't matter either way. She laughed. She has a good laugh, unguarded, entirely herself. She's never been chipped, born underground, raised in the resistance. She doesn't know what she has, I think, the naturalness of it. The way she feels things without the little hesitation the rest of us have. That fractional pause where we check whether the emotion is safe. I drew her portrait while she wasn't looking. I almost didn't realize I was smiling. Entry: later I've been thinking about pride. The ministry's whole foundation is the suppression of pride. The doctrine says pride was the original sin of civilization, that the wars, the collapses, the great disasters of the previous century all trace back to human pride unchecked. Ego, selfishness, the refusal to submit, and I understand the argument. I do. I was trained on it, same as everyone. But there's something the ministry calls pride that isn't pride at all. It's the simple insistence on being wholly yourself, on having an interior life that belongs to you, on making something, a song, a sketch, a carved door, for no reason except that it needed making. That isn't pride. That's just humanity. The ministry confused the symptom with the disease, I think. Or they didn't confuse it at all. Maybe they knew exactly what they were doing. Maybe the point was never safety. Maybe the point was just control. Entry: the morning of something. I can feel it. Something is shifting in the city. I've been underground long enough to feel the rhythms of it, the way information moves differently when something is coming. People are asking questions they didn't ask 6 months ago. Small ones first. Why can't we gather in groups larger than 4? Why are the history archives restricted? Why do the chips get recalibrated after we ask certain questions? And then larger ones, the kind that once asked can't be unasked. I don't know if it's enough. I know the ministry is tightening. More officers on the streets, more surprise recalibrations, more people disappearing into the contrition centers and coming out reshaped. I know they're looking for me specifically. The severance, they call me in their files apparently. I find that darkly funny. I'm not a severance. I'm a cartographer who found a door, but I suppose severance is also accurate in its way. Everything I do now is about cutting people loose from what the ministry installed in them, helping them find the crack in the frost. The trouble is I can only do it one person at a time. Entry: written in the cafe on Marsh Street. Waiting sheet came in out of the rain. Ministry haircut. Regulation clothes. The particular set to her shoulders that I recognize. The careful blankness of someone doing surveillance. Wearing neutrality like a uniform. But her eyes. I've learned to read eyes. The chip frosts the glass, but it can't change the light source. Some people are still burning behind the frost, burning so hard it comes through in the eyes. This terrible bright hunger, she had it. Whoever she was, whatever she'd been sent here to do, she had it. I let her sit, this seat taken I should have run. Should have folded the notebook and walked out the back and lost myself in the gray city and put another month between myself and the ministry's best hunter. Instead, I turned my notebook toward her and showed her her own face, the face she'd been before they made her safe. I don't know why I did it. Habit, maybe. Compulsion. Or just the unbearable sadness of watching another burning person try to extinguish themselves in service of a system that would discard them the moment they stopped being useful. Her name was Marin. I hope you choose yourself. I told her, I said it, and I meant it. And I knew even as I walked out into the rain that she wouldn't. Not that night. Maybe not the next. But something had cracked in her chest. I could see it. And once that crack opens, the chip can't close it. I knew because the same crack had opened in me 10 years ago, in front of a door nobody was supposed to notice. I hope she finds her way back to herself. I hope she takes a long time doing it. Entry. 3 days after the cafe, she came to the factory. Of course she came. They always come. I'm not surprised. I just hate that I'm not surprised. I keep thinking about what she said. I don't want to die. I know that. I told her so. I keep thinking about how she looked when the crack finally opened all the way, that expression I've seen 13 times now and still can't find adequate language for. Transcendence is too clean a word. It's messier than that. More human. More specific. It looks like a person suddenly recognizing the face of someone they've loved for years. Without knowing it, they look like they're coming home. I keep thinking about that, and about how I am simultaneously the thing that brings them home and the thing that kills them. And I don't know how to hold those two facts together in any way that makes me feel like a decent person. Maybe I'm not a decent person. Maybe that's fine. Maybe decency is another thing the ministry co-opted. Marin, she's in the back of the notebook now, chose herself. Laughed at the end. Remembered a girl with flowers in her hair. Entry written on the floor of cell 7, block C. In the dark they have me. They took the notebook during processing. But I had this pencil stub hidden in my boot, cartographer's habit. Always carry a spare. I'm writing in the margins of a compliance pamphlet they left in the cell by accident. Living well in new penitence. A guide to emotional hygiene. Feels appropriate. I've been counting the names in my head. All 13. Testing myself, the way you test a bad tooth with your tongue. Needing to know it's still there, still whole, still mine. Tomorrow they'll install the chip. Dr. Chen was very clear about the process. Very clinical. He has the manner of a man who has convinced himself he's a surgeon when really he's a locksmith, installing locks on rooms that should be left open. I'm afraid not of dying. I keep writing that, keep needing to establish it. Not afraid of dying, afraid of forgetting. Afraid that somewhere in the process, they'll find where I keep them, Petra and David and Lucia and Marin and all the others, and they'll take them. Leave me with empty rooms where 13 people used to live. I won't let them. I'm going to write every name on my skin if I have to, in this pencil stub, before the guards do rounds. I'm going to write them somewhere the drill can't reach. The door in Sector 9 is gone, plastered over. But I remember it. I've drawn it 30 times. They can plaster over anything they want. I'll remember, I'll always. The remaining pages are blank. The pencil was confiscated during the 300-cell inspection. The pamphlet was recovered from the ruins of the Contrition Center and held in the Archive Collective's permanent record. On the inside back cover, written in a different hand, smaller, careful, deliberate, is a single line: "We found the notebook. We read it. We remembered for him." The Archive Collective, Year 1.